Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon now again. Thank you for joining us for our second speaker session of the day. I will get started by reading our speaker's bio. Up now is Dawn Butler. Her session title is From Pivot to Power, Personal and Team Agility in the Age of AI. Dawn Butler is a technical program manager and cybersecurity leader with over 20 years of experience in IT governance, process improvement, and stakeholder engagement. With a foundation in software engineering, cybersecurity, and operation management, she's known for bridging the gap between technology and people driving innovation through collaboration, adaptability, and strategic problem solving. Please help me welcome to the stage our speaker, Dawn Butler.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good, because I was somewhere else talking. Oh my gosh, everybody, welcome to. But Andrea, check me first. You're seeing my slides with all the beautiful color, right?
No,
You're not.
I'm just seeing you.
Okay, so I need to share again. I did it all in the backstage, and now I need to do it again. Okay. So now are you seeing that?
Yes, it's up. You're good to go.
Yes. So first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that I have on my Bahamas t-shirt today. It's not quite going with the color scheme, but I love pink, and so I bought a pink one, and that is what I'm wearing today to represent my country of birth and origin and who I am. So today, everyone, I want to welcome you to From Pivot to Power. And if you hadn't noticed, I'm Dawn Butler. One second, I'm just setting something up. I'm putting my timer on so I can be a little chatty. So I got to time myself, watch my time. I'm Dawn Butler, and some people call me a techie with heart and soul. I completely embrace that. I'm a techie with heart and soul, and I'm really, really glad to be with you here today. Today, we're exploring where personal and team agility meet the age of AI. Now, this is a space that asks us to be courageous, daring, and to tap into the wonderful potential we all have. Now, I don't know if y'all caught that pun on my business name. Courageous, daring, wonderful, and it's always about you. Okay. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to look at how your own personal agility can help you navigate this rapidly changing landscape that's being shaped by AI that we're in today. We're going to discover together how to harness what change teaches us, not just to adapt, and that's important, but to actually thrive. I'm excited to take this journey with you. So let's dive in and let's unlock the power that's within each of us. Now, I wanted to take a quick note. I don't think chat is available in this session, but please post your questions in the Q&A, and I think you'll have the opportunity to raise your hand when we're at the end. And and if we don't get to your questions, we'll do our best to address them in the AMA. Whew, look at this. Look, what does it say on the screen there? The only constant is change. Change is the one constant we can count on. Well, it's not the one, but it is one of them. We can also count on God. That's a big part of my life. He doesn't change. And yet, as humans, we often resist change because it means sometimes leaving what's familiar. And it can be uncomfortable too. But I want to pause it. I want to provoke you to think that it is also one of our greatest teachers. So in that with that in mind, I want you to think about something. I want you to think back to a moment in your life when a change was uncomfortable, but absolutely necessary for your growth. So take a moment, think about that. A moment in your life, and write it down in your reflection journal or in your notes, wherever that is, in your digital free journal, wherever that might be. Think back to a moment in your life when a change, right? Any change comes in so many different formats. It could be a career change, it could be moving, it could be giving birth to a child, it could be a loss, a death. So many we're constantly undergoing change. Think back to a moment, the first one that comes to your mind that was uncomfortable. Because sometimes change is like we welcome it, right? It's like, and we actually initiate it. But this uncomfortableness was necessary for your growth. Now, you've thought about that, I hope. What did that experience teach you? I'm going to give you some seconds to think about that. What did that experience teach you? Now, as you've thought about what that experience teaches you and taught you, I want you to hold on to that feeling, that lesson from your past change. Because we're about to talk about the biggest change many of us will face in our careers and in our lifetimes: artificial intelligence, AKA Gen AI, all the different names that we call it. And I'm not going to go into this talk is not about the history of AI or any of that stuff. It's just how we are experiencing it today, okay? And I want you to think about that feeling, those lessons, because I believe that everything you learned from that past change, that past transition, that past pivot, you're going to need it. That's the premise of our conversation today. But first, we got to take a moment and really just talk about like what's happening right now with AI. We're all experiencing it. AI literally everywhere, okay? And we'll get into my background a little. Well, you know a little bit of my background. I'm a techie, but sometimes I'm just like, geez, can I volunteer to be a part of this? It's literally everywhere. For good, for bad, whatever it is, okay? It's everywhere. And I think that's why we have to talk about it. And the reality also is it's really changing how we work and how we lead. But here is the thing. AI isn't just something that we need to worry about. And some of us are, there's a lot of things they're saying about replacing our jobs and things like that. Or, it's also not a race to keep up with. And I think that some of the hype that's happening is also about trying to keep up, racing to keep up and competition and all of that. I want us to reframe all of that and look at the opportunity that it presents for us, okay? Organizations can use it to work smarter and get better results. And also personally, we're doing that as well. But I don't think the goal is just to jump on the AI bandwagon because everyone else is. Well, that shouldn't be our goal. You sort of feel like you have to, but I want us to look at it a little differently today. AI and this time we're in is about using these tools to do work that actually matters and to make what's human better and to make what we do as humans even better. It's an augmentation, right? It's a supplement to who we are, what we produce, what we put out in the world, what we do. And because of this community that we are, Bahamas Agile and project management community, I believe I'm talking to a lot of leaders. Now, you may not have the title, but I believe I'm talking to leaders. So when we think about leadership for a second, AI is pushing leaders to think differently, to be more flexible, and to plan ahead. So the question becomes, how do we use AI to stay ahead instead of just trying to catch up? And I know there's so much out there, and there's always something changing and going on. And so I want to bring that to you because I don't want you to get stuck in that feeling of, oh, I'm just trying to catch up. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Okay. How are you going to use it to stay ahead as a leader? Here's what I believe. AI is touching every part of our lives now. It really is. In the simplest places that you would just never expect, it's there. And as leaders, we need to lead with our eyes open, open to putting people first, not just profits. A lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the hype is about profits. But I believe as leaders in our spheres of influence, we have to put people first. And it isn't just really, about the technology itself. That's a great thing, but it's a tool to help us grow and change with a purpose. So starting with purpose, mission, people first. How we bring AI into our work today, and this is so important, is going to set the example for what comes next. We are creating foundation, everybody. We are in a pivotal moment, a transformational moment, and we actually have an opportunity and a privilege to be a part of a foundation that's going to be to impact this world for the future. So remember that it's purpose driven and setting an example for what comes next. As we implement AI in the workplace, in systems, it's important to think it through carefully and to make choices that align with what we're actually trying to accomplish. Um, we're not going to go into the details of putting AI in the wrong place and things like that. That's another webinar. But I want you to be overall sensitive and aware that it's very important that we make choices that facilitate, good use, responsible use, effective use of AI. So I said some things there. Some might have been a little provocative, but I want you to know that you and I are stepping into this moment with courage. And most of all, a vision for making things better. Yes, yes, yes. All right, I'm going to take a breath because I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey now. And some of it is, yeah, we'll see. We'll see as it goes. So I'm breathing because I've spent 25 years working in tech and cybersecurity, and I want to share three of my, I said two, y'all, three big career shifts that I've made along the way. These are not the only career shifts I've ever made, but when I think about my career journey and my whole personal story, I wanted to highlight these three. They're the ones that came to mind first. So I like that question I asked you at the beginning about a big change that taught you a lot. These three taught me a lot. So what I know for sure, hey, Mama Oprah, yes, what I know for sure is that embracing change isn't optional anymore. It's essential. You live long enough, I can't remember the saying, things gonna change. That's just how it is. We can resist that thing or we can embrace it. And in the tech world, because it's moving so fast, I've had to change direction more times than I can count. The good news, though, is that every time I pivoted, I learned something new. And over time, those pivots taught me to put people at the center of everything. And that's why I say I'm a techie with heart and soul, because I've done the techie hardcore stuff and over all of it, it's like, wait, people People matter the most. They're at the center of everything. Okay. That's like some of the biggest lessons I've learned. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not just about the technology, it's about the people that use it, that are building it, that are being affected by it. Think about that. Technology is everywhere. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. It's running everything we do. We're on this webinar today, but guess who was behind this webinar? Humans, people. This technology could sit out here saying, "Hey, I can do all this stuff," but without people to use it and make it do things, it's just, I don't know. It's just what it is. Well, again, AI wants to be have general intelligence and all this stuff. We're not there yet, but we're not also talking about that right now. But as of today, it needs people, okay? And it always will. I want us to know that as we innovate and create new things, we can't lose sight of the humans making it all happen. So this is my shout out to you, Andrea, and the BAPMC team. Thank you so much for taking the risk and for being open to change and embracing change and to doing something like this, because you're showing us agility. Okay, I've mentioned that people first was a big deal, but also one of my other takeaways through this 25 plus year journey is that the technology we build and the work that we do should make our lives better and easier, not more complicated. I truly believe that it's all about simplification, making the human experience better. So as we move forward, let's think about this. How does being personally agile, being able to adapt and pivot yourself, help your whole team become more agile too? Because remember, the topic of this talk, the T's were getting me just now, is personal agility and team agility. So we're going to look at how personal agility can help you become a better leader and help your teams become more agile. All right, let's go into my journey. Picture this, okay? I graduated from college, diploma in hand, but no job lined up. I mean, nothing. Well, I did have one job offer and I couldn't take it because of my immigration status. I'm still in the US, by the way. September was coming fast and I needed to figure out something, right? Because at that point, I had to support myself and my younger brother who had just come from the Bahamas to start college. And so we were there together. I was starting my adult life and he was getting into college. And I need to figure, like, what are we going to do? We got to pay the rent and the bills and all of the stuff like that. You know, then what happened? A friend from college threw me a lifeline, a job referral. And you know what got me in the door? Oh, I didn't mention that I have an electrical engineering degree, okay? That matters for this story. What got me in the door for that job? I mean, I think I probably said some really cool stuff that I don't remember what I said, but I had 2 programming classes that I took in college. And honestly, I didn't necessarily like those classes. And to add to the irony of that, I remember back then sitting in the computer lab thinking, who would actually do this for a living? It's like, why would someone do this to themselves? Well, it turns out me. You know, that's why they say never, honestly. Once I got into the real world, though, I was teaching myself to code and I actually enjoyed it. And I started out making simple web pages in HTML. Then I worked my way up to building software and working with databases. But I want to point out, remember I was saying that these shifts and these changes were pivotal. They taught me things. What kept me going in that time period were 3 things. I keep doing 2 instead of 3. Curiosity, necessity. And sometimes that's what necessity does. And just refusing to give up. Those were my compass. And now I've been doing this for 28 years. That's the first big shift, okay? Let's talk about the second big shift. And it actually included me going home to the Bahamas, back home to the Bahamas. But I shouldn't say but, and the other part was I went from working for myself, like doing the work myself, and not entrepreneurship, y'all. Let me clarify doing the work myself as an individual contributor to managing other people. And it was hard. It really was. I look back, it was hard, but it taught me a lot. Now, I mentioned already that I moved back to the Bahamas. So that transition happened when I moved back home to the Bahamas. And by this point, though, I'd gotten really good at learning fast and picking up new concepts. I remember I had an electrical engineering degree, two programming classes, and that was it. So I was learning as I went, teaching myself. And so learning new concepts, learning fast is something I'd been doing, since day one of my career. And it really, really paid off because when I made that transition within about a year, I think I got promoted to managing 8 different applications that were used across multiple countries. And I managed a team of 5 people that were spread all over the world. It's a big deal for me. Remember I said it was hard, but it taught me a lot. And but the tricky part, and I think if you've been a individual contributor who has moved to manager, what I'm about to say may resonate for you because it happens sometimes. What got tricky for me, and what was the hard part, honestly, was that my bosses promoted me to manager, but they still expected me to do all the work, my old work too. So I led the team. I managed those applications, like I mentioned, and I was a full-time contributor at the same time. When I look back, that job was honestly the both the worst and the best role I've ever had because the pressure was intense. But I learned so much, y'all, so much, especially about the technical side of things. And let's just add a little more fuel to this transition fire, this change fire. I also did my MBA during that time. Am I a sucker for punishment? I don't know. While I was doing that, there were days I really wanted to quit. And I mean, more than once I questioned, why was I putting myself through this? I mean, no one was saying I had to get a master's degree. That's just something a goal I had made for myself. And I was doing it. And I got to the point where it's like, oh, I'm ready to quit. But I stuck with it. And so looking back, the 3 big lessons that stand out for me with that one. First, sometimes you have to unlearn old habits to grow. What worked as an individual contributor doesn't always work as a manager. Second, having the right mentor matters. And I know we have some students with us today, and I hope that you take this with you. You need mentorship, okay? And I didn't have one. And it made things a little harder than I think they needed to be. And then the third thing, something else for the students out there, those who are coming early into the corporate and environments and working, relationships and office politics are real, y'all. I mean, there's a game that's being played. So it can make or break your career, and whether you want to believe that or not. I didn't believe it for a long time, but I believe it now. So I wanted to bring that out for anyone today. My third big transition was getting into cybersecurity. And interestingly enough, it started because of working that best and worst job that I had. Being a production support manager is what I was called. And when I managed those applications, I was responsible for the technology and the security for all the applications. And that experience became my entry into the security world. So I think this is part of why I say it was the best and the worst. Um, I used what I'd learned about managing projects, teams as much as I could, and the security requirements of applications to land a business analyst role. It wasn't like a direct pivot. It was like a interesting pivot there. But the big catch was, well, not the big catch. the catch or a catch. I don't know. I'm thinking about this now. Like, why do I keep piling on like changes altogether? That's something for me to reflect about. I also moved from the Bahamas to Texas around that time. So not only did I change the type of job I was doing, I changed my location, multiple transitions at the same time. New job, new city, and I didn't know anybody. So that was interesting to say the least. But the job itself, it was a complete 180 from what I was used to doing. As a production support manager, I've been in technical roles, right? Where I could be heads down and I'm introverted, so it worked. That was my comfort zone. But in this business analyst role, I was in meetings all day, leading conversations with people. We were fixing security problems that affected everybody. And that meant I had to coordinate with teams of people I'd never met before. And I gotta admit, at first, I was intimidated. Reaching out to strangers, leading discussions, being visible like I am right now, it was scary. But I had a choice: grow or hide. And honestly, my desire to succeed won out. So I started showing up differently. I let people see a side of me that I'd usually only shown to close friends. I worked on my communication skills, my ability to connect with people. And once I started, I didn't stop. And honestly, it's how I'm here with you today. It really, really is. It was a pivotal moment for me because I had to face my fears. I had to deal with the voice that was saying, "Who are you to lead this?" But I kept on learning while I was doing. The biggest lesson from that experience, and maybe all of these really, is that transitions, these changes, these pivots aren't about starting from zero. I hope you're getting that. And if you're not, I'm going to say it for you right now. They're not about starting from zero. They're about taking what you know, what I know, and building something new with it. I'm gonna pause for the cause for a little bit. Does any look? I'm showing my age. I don't know if everybody remembers that pausing for the cause thing. Just like, oof. Anyway, look. I'm not saying that pivoting is easy or that everyone has the same options. I have faced my share of barriers. I mentioned the immigration challenge earlier, financial constraints, and many times when the path forward wasn't clear or maybe even available. So I want you to know that agility isn't about having perfect circumstances. And I think we're going to talk about resilience a bit. That's a part of it. It's really about working what you've got and finding a way forward anyway. So I want to connect the dots here for you a little bit. What I realized as I look back on all those career changes, going from an engineer to IT professional, from doing the work myself to managing people, from IT to cybersecurity, was that I wasn't starting over. They were rebuilding me. Each transition worked different parts of me: my curiosity, my ability to adapt, my willingness to keep learning. Like these were, these experiences, these were my basic agility training, like maybe training wheels even. Even though honestly, when I was going through that stuff, I wasn't thinking about it back then. But every challenge, every time I had to reinvent myself was getting me ready for whatever came next. And that's really what this whole talk is about. Adaptability is one of the most valuable things that you can have as a leader. The more that you practice it yourself, okay? Remember, embracing change, the better that you can show your team how to do it. And especially now, when things are uncertain and they're changing very fast, people are looking to you as a leader. So as we move into this next part, I really want you to think about this question, or, where in your life have you been building your agility muscle, right? Okay, never mind. I'm just going to sing an old song. Your agility muscle without even realizing it. Maybe sort of like I did. I want you to think about that. Where in your life has your agility muscle been building? What's very clear to me is that every pivot you've made, every pivot I've made, whether it's at work, in your personal life, wherever, that was training. Okay, that was training. Those uncertain moments when you didn't know what was coming next, that's where you discovered you could adapt. That's where you learned to lead with courage, right? These experiences, all of them, they connect together. They add up and they turn you into someone who can handle whatever comes next. You've got this, okay? You've got it because you've experienced, you've been trained, you have muscles, all right? So when you've lived agility yourself, you can lead agile teams from a real place, from a place of authenticity, from a place of empathy. Remember, I talked about being people centered and human centered. Personal agility is about how you respond when something unexpected happens. Not with panic, but with purpose. And I used this word purpose already. Remember at the beginning, talking about how we're going to utilize AI and use it as an opportunity with purpose. And I want to pause for a moment and just recognize and share with you something about where I am today in terms of unexpected and uncertainty. I'm actually transitioning right now myself, right? As I sit here talking to you today, I'm in a transition. I was laid off from work. I'm figuring out what's next. So trust me, I know that building agility while you're exhausted or uncertain, because I've been both, is hard. But it's also how we survive and eventually thrive. Okay, I need a drink of water. I mentioned that these experiences were what I see now as my agility training wheels. Now, notice none of it came from a leadership training course. Okay. So I hope you're getting that your experiences are training you. And yes, leadership training is very important, but it's starting in your personal experience. Okay. For me, it started when plans fell apart, being laid off like I am right now, when I had to learn something new with no warning, lots of that in tech and cybersecurity. When I moved to new countries and had to start over, as I mentioned, it's right now. It is right now. What's happening. These moments, right? Those moments have taught me how to be resilient, to be flexible, right? Going with the flow. It's not easy what I'm saying, y'all, but it teaches you. And, to stay curious, even when things get hard. I think curiosity is so important. Asking questions, meeting new people, just staying open and willing to learn. So I want to suggest that personal agility, at least I know for me it has been, and maybe for you it is as well, is built on three foundations: flexibility, resilience, and curiosity. Because it's not about moving fast, it's about staying steady while everything around you is moving. It's what helps you change direction, right? Without falling over. When you bounce back, when the things get hard, and staying curious enough to keep learning, even when you can't see what's ahead. Just keep on taking steps, y'all. So the truth is, you can lead other people through change. This is what I'm suggesting and recommending and saying to you through this talk is that you can lead other people through change way better when you've led yourself through it first. Because you're coaching, you're teaching, right? and you're leading. So I want you to take a moment and think about this question. How do you respond when change shows up uninvited? How do you respond? How have you responded? How do you want to respond when change shows up uninvited? The answer to that is your agility story. That is the well, like a source of water or refreshment. That's the well that you draw from as a leader. And most especially, the kind of leader that we need right now in times of change, in times of uncertainty, when things are moving fast. Because I want you to remember that personal agility starts in your head with how you choose to respond, how you choose to learn, and how you grow when things shift. So remember, the talk is personal agility and team agility. So let's shift into the team agility part. If personal agility is about how you adapt, then team agility is how we adapt together. And I want to be real with you. And I don't know if you've gotten this already from what I've said. True agility doesn't come from fancy frameworks or daily stand-up meetings. It comes from trust. And if you're working in an environment with people, if you didn't know this, you've probably sensed it. And most likely, hopefully today, when I just said that, you'll be like, yes, that's true. It comes from trust. Teams can only move fast when people feel safe enough to speak up, to ask questions, to mess up without getting punished. That safety, that's what makes agility actually work. Because if they don't have that, then they're going to be stuck. They're going to keep trying to, they can't maneuver and shift and change and be curious and ask, be adventurous and innovative. So we need this now more than ever. Again, especially as AI is changing everything around us. As leaders, our job, and though I am not working in a corporate environment now, I still see myself as a leader because that's who I am, not who the title or some job title says I am. I embody that, right? As leaders, our job is to create spaces where people feel seen and they feel heard. And I think Dr. Agocha, she said it in her session. I heard it. I was there for a little bit, where empathy drives decisions, not just hitting deadlines. And that's what empathy-driven leadership looks like. And finally, this is a huge one for me because I love this concept. I'm not going to dig into it today, but I want you to make a note of it and go look at what it is. I feel like it's a game changer. We need what's called a beginner's mind. Staying open, curious, being willing to learn from anyone on your team, despite their title or how long they've been there. In this world that's being reshaped by AI, the most agile leaders, you all, will be the ones who are humble enough to keep learning and human enough to keep listening. That's how we go from that personal agility to team agility. We've talked about AI just a little bit. We talked about our current state. So I want to zoom back out again for a second because we were sort of in the depths of who we are and how we operate as a team. Let's zoom back out. AI has changed how fast work moves and what work looks like, but it hasn't replaced the human part. I want to reiterate that. With its inception, not inception, maybe it's insemination. That's the wrong word. It's proliferation, all wrong words, but the way it's everywhere, it's actually made emotional intelligence and adaptability more important for us, not less. Because we're at a turning point for project managers and really, for all kinds of leaders. AI is transforming how we plan, how we execute work, and how we deliver it faster than any framework or methodology ever could. Because it's just going out there and doing stuff for us, right? But listen, AI can crunch the numbers, it can spot patterns, optimize processes, but what it cannot do is empathize. Andrea, am I out of time or something? You came
No,
back.
I'm on camera, so you know that's 5 minutes more.
Okay, all right. It can't empathize with us. It can't inspire people. It can't make sense of all the messy, complicated human stuff. All right. And what I want to bring out, and you see it on the screen, is that I want you to think about agile, what it actually is: a flexible, people-centered approach that helps teams quickly adapt to change and deliver value early and often. It empowers individuals to collaborate and creatively solve problems with autonomy and purpose. Flexibility, we need that more than ever. People-centered, we've talked about that. That's what keeps us human. Quick adaptation, we're doing that now, okay? Collaboration, creative problem solving, that's what AI can't replicate. So the practices you already know as an agile practitioner, the iterative cycles, the retrospectives, the emphasis on people over processes, these are exactly what we need to work effectively alongside AI. So I want you to know, if you don't take anything else away from this talk, your expertise is more valuable now than ever. But we've talked about leadership, and I want you to see that to be future ready, these are the skills that I believe that you need to have: empathy, curiosity, trust, psychological safety. We've talked about those, but they aren't soft skills, they are strategic advantages. They determine how well your teams innovate and how quickly they adapt and how confidently they handle uncertainty. When you lead with these qualities, you don't just manage change, you humanize that thing, okay? That's what future ready leadership looks like: using your heart and insight to guide technology, not letting technology dictate how we lead. We've been talking about pivots. I had you take some time to think about a change that you've undergone. So I want you to know that every time you pivot, you get a chance to step deeper into your power, okay? So this is a little mindset that I want to share with you. P is for personal, O for ownership. POWER, your power. Take ownership of your journey. Own your choices. Own how you respond when things get hard, okay? No one else can do that for you. Only you can. W is their willingness to learn. Stay willing, stay curious, open to feedback. The beginner's mind we talked about. E is for empathy. Remember that leadership is relational, okay? We don't rise alone. We rise by understanding and uplifting others. And then R is for your resilience. It's not just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward, coming out stronger, wiser, and more adaptable than before. So this isn't just a theory. You've done this already, okay? It's lived experience. It's how we sustain our momentum through every pivot, through every change, through every transition. And it's also how we're going to guide our teams through the unknown that we're in with strength and with grace. So, I had to go real fast at the end there. We've covered a lot. I want us to take a breath. I want you to reflect for a little in your notes, in your journals. Ask yourself these two questions. Where are you being called to pivot right now? If you're in a pivot right now. And then how can you model agility for your team? Just take some time and write that out. Because I want you to remember that every pivot is an invitation to step into your power. Remember the mindset, both personally and professionally. All right, so we're ready to close. I want to leave you with this. Agility isn't just about adapting to change, it's about becoming change ready by design. Here's what I need you to hear. You are already equipped for this moment. Your personal pivots have trained your agility muscle. Your agile practices have given you the methodology. Together, That makes you uniquely prepared to lead in the age of AI, not despite the uncertainty, but because you know how to navigate it. So remember this: turn your personal pivots into a foundation for resilient leadership, that well that I talked about. Build AI ready, people centered teams that thrive on trust and curiosity. Lead with empathy and vision. Transform the disruption that we're in into opportunity. And remember this, last but not least: power isn't about control, power is presence. The ability for you to stay grounded, stay open, and purposeful, no matter what's shifting around you. Because that's how we move from pivot to power. So, Dawn Butler, here I am. Let's talk about your next pivot if you want. Connect with me. There's information on the screen. And, share your pivot, get inspired, and connect with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. That was an exceptional presentation. I am so full of knowledge right now from everything that you shared. Your personal experiences are so inspiring because they kind of mirror what I'm going through right now with the transition and the uncertainty and the change, but yet we still go, we still move forward, and it's all about progression and not thinking that uh, our moments of change doesn't have to be a total disruption in our lives. It could be
Yes.
a moment of pause and just transitioning and trying to figure out what's our next strategic move. How do we add value to our own lives? So I'm going to open up the floor. We have a few more sessions. We have a few more minutes for a Q&A with Dawn before we transition to our next session with Hit Refresh. So do we have anyone in the session that wants to come on screen and ask a question? You can raise your hand and I will bring you to the stage. Or if you want to make a comment, we're open to that as well. I know Dawn touched so many of us. Some of you have to have some wonderful comments to share with her about her presentation. Welcome, Anne.
Hi,
Hi,
Anne.
hi, Dawn. I just love the fact that you shared a bit about yourself and you integrated it into the session. And we are in such a uncertain time. And,
Yes.
all of us are going through issues. And particularly, kind of tough for single women or women in general. And so, sharing your challenges, sharing how we pivot, it's insightful. It's like a blessing because like we feel others of us who are in a similar situation don't feel like we're alone, don't feel like, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like, oh, okay, it's not going to turn or something is not going to change. Or, if we pivot, you know, um, it won't work. So
Yeah.
I quite love it. And of course, you'll see my message. You'll see my lovely message on LinkedIn. I didn't just
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
just
Anne.
but I sent you a lovely message. So yes, I'm loving it. And I wish, Andrea, for like sessions like these coming out of this, maybe we could create other sessions or communities where women like us can, just share together, and just empower and strengthen each other, out of this session. So I don't know if Dawn, you have a session like that. I see your other areas that you're involved in, but
Mhm.
yeah, we could create a space and just come and encourage and support and lift up each other. Yeah.
Yes, we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate your words of encouragement and I'm so happy that my story, that you found yourself there and that you can find validation and that's what I wanted to do. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Anne. And we have Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Hi, Dawn. Hi
Hi.
again, Andrea. I just wanted to say that this was an amazing presentation. It was like looking at my professional twin because because the journey is absolutely, I am like, how are you speaking the life that I've It's amazing. So I just wanted to thank you, right on from the technical aspect, growing in IT, getting into leadership roles, relocating back, getting into
Wow.
the new technology in IT, training, and I will be reaching out on LinkedIn, my
Absolutely.
dear twin, so
Yes.
that we can continue the conversation and we can connect. And thank you so much,
Yes, let's
Andrea, for this opportunity.
let's do that. Thank you, Tammy.
Yes, ma'am.
Devanya?
Devanya.
Hi, Dawn.
Devanya and I worked together before.
Yes.
She knows that job I was talking about.
I was about to say yes, the same thing. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say, thank you so much for your openness and your vulnerability during the talk. I felt it was both refreshing and inspiring to hear you speak authentically about your personal journey, and how you use your experiences to demonstrate agility, adaptability, and then your growth really kind of brought the message to life. So I just want to say thank you, and I really enjoyed your presentation today.
Thank you so
It's so
much,
good seeing
Devanya.
you.
Yes, so good to hear your voice.
All right, thank you again, Dawn, for a motivational and inspirational and transformational session. I am going to definitely rewatch this recording many, many times and make it absorb. For me, I love to make things sticky and practical, and I think that's what you did today. So mission accomplished. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here with us. Thank you to all our attendees. We're going to transition into our next session with Hit Refresh. And then after that, we'll have our last set of speakers. We have a panel discussion with experts based in Africa and Australia. And then we also have Latina Lewis that's going to close us out as far as the speaker sessions. But don't leave the event because we do have our prize wheel coming up. We have power networking. We have our closing session. And we also have a PML audio journey that we want to introduce you to. So stay tuned and
Oh, nice.
let's transition to the next session. See you all over there.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.